Coming to you from the Oddball Podcast Studios in New York City. My name is Vin Forte, and you're listening to Oddball with Vin Forte. Go follow the show over on Twitter at Oddball Podcast. Follow me on Twitter at Mighty Vin. Follow the show over on Instagram at Oddball_pod. Follow me on Instagram at VinForteNYC. If you're only listening to the pod on Apple or Spotify or wherever else you get your podcasts, why not subscribe to the visual element over on YouTube, youtube.com/@Oddball Podcast. That's youtube.com/@Oddball Podcast. Probably the number one way to help the pod. Helps keep the algorithms rimming and the computers puting. I've got a big show today. As I always say, it's a big show. But like I've been doing for the past couple of weeks, I've not come alone. I've brought a man who has been on this pod before. Mr. Banks. There he is. There you unmute yourself, young man.
How are you, everybody in TV land? I got it. Are we live, Kyle?
What is this phony? Like, what are you hating us with the phony baloney for?
Hey, man. Almost went up like Bill O'Reilly. This thing fucking sucks. I can't cuss. I'm sorry. This thing is... I can
cuss. You can cuss a little bit.
Well, fucking sucks, man. I hate technology, brother. See, it's the antennas that they put in their mind that connects.
I don't know if he said that, but that'd be really interesting if he did break out like that and go like, "Listen, brother, like."
How do we know, Ben? How do we know?
Well, how do we know indeed? Well, something we do know is that this happened over the past week. This embarrassment, this disgrace. The Chicago Bulls Ring of Honor. Basically, this haphazard BS was pulled together about a month ago, where out of nowhere they announced, "Hey, we're going to start up a Ring of Honor," even though we've already, put all the retired numbers to rest. We've raised all the rafters. We got to give the fans something, so we'll do a Ring of Honor. Okay, fine. So they're like, we're going to get the band back together. We're going to bring back, everyone from the 90s. Phil Jackson's there. Luke Longley's there. Tony Kukoc. And obviously they invite Michael, Scotty, Dennis Rodman. 3 people you would, want to show up to your Bulls Ring of Honor. None of them showed up in terms of the primary 3. Because this thing was in the middle of January, Dennis Rodman got stuck in a snowstorm. Pippen is not on speaking terms with Michael Jordan or Phil Jackson right now, so he didn't even send a video. And Michael Jordan sent a video saying, "Sorry, I couldn't be there." Believe me, if Michael Jordan wanted to be somewhere, he would find a way to get there. So he didn't want to show up to this thing either. And that's bad enough. That's lame enough for a Ring of Honor. But the real low point, the thing everyone's talking about this week, is when they announced everyone on the Jumbotron, when it was like, "Hey, everyone say hello to Phil Jackson." Oh, everyone claps. Oh, Phil Jackson's back. They got Tony Kukoc. Oh, we love Tony Kukoc. Then they get to Jerry Krause, and the whole place boos. They cut to his widow, Thelma, and she's just, as you see on the screen, she's just beside herself. People are coming up to her like immediately, like, "Oh, don't listen to them, don't do that." This is a disgrace, and we'll get to the reasons why people were booing Jerry Krause in a moment, because you and I are on the same page. We both know why they're doing it, but how big of a disgrace was this for the city of Chicago?
I think they're a bunch of punk motherfuckers. Excuse my language, that's just how I feel. I love the city of Chicago. One of the greatest cities in the world. I love Chicago Bulls, my favorite organization since 1997. Even though I was born in Los Angeles, I knew Michael Jordan was the great then. I think it was a bunch of bullshit. You didn't have to boo that man. We know it was Reinsdorf, and we about to get into that. It's more so Reinsdorf. He got us 6 titles, man, with as much as he can. I know Jordan at one point wanted to play with his, he wanted to play with Sam Perkins. He wanted to play with
Charles Oakley,
James Worthy. So he wanted to play with his boys. I understand that. Pause. But at the same time, for us to get 6 titles with what we had is pretty good. And that's not, to scoff at it. I mean, but who was Luke Longley? No disrespect. Love Luke Longley. But who was Luke Longley? Tony Kukoc was a prospect overseas. Who was he? Great eye to pick him up, but who was he at that point? Obviously, this is before the internet, so you didn't know all these players existed. You had to go actually scout, and they did a damn good job scouting. Picking up a 35-year-old. Yes, Dennis Rodman was 35 years old when he got on our championship teams in 96. To pick him up is a great look. So I think it was just classless, and the city of Chicago is way better than that. Again, one of the greatest cities in the world. Thought it was bullshit. I thought it was classless. As far as what you said about, the 3 guys not being there, come on, man. We knew, you're right. We knew Pippen wasn't going to show up. Pippen didn't even say nothing. Because Pippen is still mad at the organization, too, for not getting paid. What does he get? Not a stipend, but whatever he gets right now. But the
endorsement money. But you're right. It's Reinsdorf. And to go back to a point you made about, the city, I think it was Stacey King was on commentary that night, and he was like, we don't do that. We're not New York. We're not Philadelphia. It's like, would New York or Philadelphia have booed Jerry Krause's widow?
Oh, yeah. Philly might have said something worse. It's Philly.
Well, okay. I was trying to take the high road on that, but maybe. But
not. It's Philly. Okay. They got the Eagles. All right? If the Eagles play for your city, that tells me everything I need to know.
All right, I'm just saying, like, on that night when your cities, but you don't need to bring other cities into it. Like, don't try and, like, do a false equivalency when we don't know. Like, what if, like, okay, if they announce, I don't even know what the equivalency would be, because I was going to say if they announce, like, James Dolan years from now did something. But James Dolan didn't bring the city 6 titles. Like, that's the thing that gets me, is that Jerry Krause, like you said, yeah, does he get blamed for blowing up the team when he did and not letting it sort of, the dynasty die on its own?
Vinny.
Yeah, absolutely. But
I hate to cut you off, but I get passionate when we start talking about basketball, especially Chicago Bulls. So I'm going to say this. You're right about everything. They were just, the thing is, people just, especially in basketball, have short-term memory. They forgot he got us 6 titles, and they were old.
That's exactly what I was saying. Like, that team was getting old. There's a reason it was the last dance. Like, it wasn't just that, a lot of people were fed up with people in the organization. That's a part of it, but these players were getting old. They were having injuries. Pippen was out for a whole bunch of this. Like, MJ was getting older. Like, everyone was getting older.
Ass, man. Let's call a spade a spade. I've been watching Chicago Bulls basketball since '97. The Pacers. The Pacers was beating their ass, man.
And now again, who's to say that, given 2 or 3 extra years, we wouldn't have seen the Pacers, finally take them out, or maybe the Bulls would have pulled out a 7th championship. We don't know, but what we do know is that when it was all said and done, Jerry Krause was an instrumental part, because he made you talk about situations where you can actually very clearly see where the executives did the right call. Because usually you look at the executives and you go, well, they were meddling too much, they were doing this, they were doing that. This is actually a pretty clear-cut case where you can see that he made the right calls that no one else would have made, Krause did. Because like you said, MJ wanted to keep Charles Oakley. He was like, no, we got to get rid of Oakley. We got to bring in, we got to bring in someone else. We got to get rid of this person. We're not going to take this person. We're going to take this person. And you know what the most damning evidence to support that is? MJ was a general manager for 12 years with the Hornets? How'd that work out?
Not too. I mean, they got Gerald Wallace at one point, Steven Jackson in the playoffs in 2009. That's about it.
2009? How many years ago is that? Like, and that's like the height of how it worked.
Free new Melo, not old Melo. Free new Melo, which is LaMelo Ball. Free new Melo.
Yeah, and then you could even go back to the Wizards, where he had control there, and pick Kwame Brown.
Hey, come on now. I don't want him to cut a shoot promo on you. Kwame Brown was a good player.
No, listen, I give my proper respect to Kwame Brown. He is absolutely right when he talks about, like, listen, man, I was in the NBA for whatever it was, like 10 years, whatever. So if you're in the NBA that long, you can't be a scrub. You may be put in situations where there may be better people around you, and they may expose you for not being as good as them. But as Brian Scalabrine once said, in relation to people being as good as him or being able to beat him in a game of basketball, quote, I'm closer to being Kobe Bryant than you are to being me. And that's a fact. So the same could apply for Kwame Brown. So I'm with Jalen Rose on this when he had that whole debate on First Take years ago about Kwame Brown. But going back to Jerry Krause, yeah, like he made the tough decisions. And it's not even close. Like, we've seen him make the tough decisions. Even in The Last Dance, like, yeah, it's framed to skew negative towards him, but knowing that when the dust all settled, he was an instrumental part in 6 championships. I mean, even if you hate him, you gotta give the devil his due. Like, he was a part of it. He was an instrumental part of it. Like, he's one of the greatest. You could argue he's one of the greatest general managers in sports history.
Absolutely. Also, too, if it was really heat between him and the organization, Phil Jackson wouldn't be there. Phil Jackson has heat with the Bulls organization. He got heat, not with the Lakers, but the people that are involved. The Buss family. But he has heat he's always had heat with them. He talked about in the Last Dance documentary. He had heat, super nuclear heat more than anybody with Jerry Krause.
But it's been 20 plus years. It's like, you're going to hold on to that heat that long. Like, everyone's gone their separate ways. They've had success in other places. Like, at a certain point, you have to look back and go, look, there were business decisions that were made, and we butted heads, but look what we accomplished. And it's the look what we accomplished part that I don't think the fans are keen to, or at least some of the fans are keen to hone in on.
The NBA has the greatest short-term memory loss fans in the world. Whereas baseball, you got to have a long memory. The NFL, you got to have a long memory. Especially soccer, you got to have a long memory. With the NBA, it's like, all right, what's next? All right, LeBron, cool. He 38 or 39 years old, is averaging 25 points per game. All right, cool. That's what's up. What's next? Oh, the team is trash. So it's the same thing as it relates to everything that happened 2 years ago, let alone 26 years ago when this happened. My math might be off, but I feel like it's been 26, 27 years. Most organizations don't get championships that often. We got 6. We got 6. Yeah. We got 6 of them. Like, Milwaukee just got their first title in 2021.
And that might have to carry Milwaukee for the next 20 years, but they'll love it.
Right. It's like, dude, we got a dynasty. The Spurs got 5 titles.
It is. People sorely underestimate how hard it is to get a title. And to even have like what the Golden State Warriors have, where it's like, okay, you get a back-to-back and then you get another one, and then like a couple of years you get another one. Or like the Spurs are in a very similar position, where like, there was that run where, okay, I don't know if you would call them a dynasty, but 5 in 15, 20 years, like that's pretty good. Like 5 in a 20-year period is honestly, like, in a dream scenario, like in a realistic dream scenario, as good an average as you would want for your team.
I was about to say your dream scenario is the Nets doing that in the next 30 years.
Nets got a lot of problems right now, so we can talk about the Nets another time. They got to do something by the trade deadline. I don't know if that's firing Jacques Vaughn or I don't know, because there's good players on that team.
It ain't Jacques. It ain't young Jacques.
No, He's made some baffling calls in the fourth quarter. It's a whole mishigash. We'll
So does
maybe talk
Devin
next
Ham.
week.
So does Devin Ham. And this might be another coach that get fired under LeBron. I love LeBron and the Lakers organization, but this might be another coach leaving the Lakers organization.
Well, listen, we'll talk about LeBron in a little bit, but we'll move away from the Bulls for now. I think we've exhausted every day. It was a trash Ring of Honor. They should have never done it. I hope they don't do it again. Mostly because who they have left. Next year they're going to do Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah.
Tyrese Thomas.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Jay Williams. Like, where are they going to...
Wait, hold on. We do got Kurt Heinrich and Ben Gordon now.
Okay.
We do got Joakim, Taj Gibson.
Taj back with Thibodeau on the Knicks.
Yeah, he can still come back home. Always come back home. Nate Robinson.
Taj Gibson seems tired, man. I saw that interview of him where he was like, "Ooh, they had to take me out because these young guys, they're wearing me up." It's like time is undefeated, and you're 38 or whatever. Like Taj Gibson's not a young man anymore.
Well, he's been old forever. I feel like when he played on the same team as us, he was 32.
I'm not going to look it up, but I don't doubt it. But speaking of organizations with somewhat fractured histories, another big to-do this week is this whole conversation that Melo, the real Melo, Carmelo Anthony, brought up on his podcast, 7 p.m. in Brooklyn with him and Mero, because everyone's got a podcast now. And he brought up this idea that, and we've heard it before, but he's sort of giving it a little more life now because he's the man involved, and now he's talking about it. But he thinks that there's a conspiracy around the fact that that Nikola Jokic, is wearing 15, and Carmelo wore 15. He thinks it's very disrespectful that after he left in 2014-15, when they got Jokic, that they were just like, hey, here is number 15, as if it was just anyone else's number. And there's a lot to this, but at the end of the day, I think he's making a big molehill, or he's making a mountain out of a molehill here. Because I think this is a lot of to-do about nothing. Because it's not like he left the Nuggets under great circumstances. He signed that 5-year deal and then, strong-armed his way out of it. So it's not like it was a LeBron situation where his contract was up and then he went into the waters of free agency. He fought to get his way onto the Knicks. And when you do something like that, and you're also someone who has sort of butted heads with the organization, I don't know if you get the respect of, we're gonna keep your number warm for you so that one day you can come back and we'll put it in the rafters. And he also didn't bring them a champion. Yeah, he made them relevant for quite a few years, for every year that he was there. There's no denying that. He was multiple times. You could easily say he was in the MVP conversation multiple years. So, he made that organization relevant in a way that it hadn't been. You could argue maybe ever. And you could even argue he should have been Rookie of the Year in 03-04. With all that said, they still never got to a finals. Jokic brought them a championship. So I think that is another piece of the context that muddles things up a bit. Because now we're like, okay, one of these guys brought this organization a title, and the guy who did it just so happens to be the guy that they gave another franchise player's number to, which is a really rare situation. Like, I don't know any other situation in sports where that's really happened. So it brings up an interesting conundrum of, when everything's all said and done, Jokic is definitely going into the rafters because he brought them their first championship. So that's not even a question. Knowing that, even if they just cap out at the one title, what do you do about Melo?
All right, so I'm going to take Melo's side, but I'm also going to take the organization side because I see, both ends of the spectrum. With Melo, when you see that jersey that's on the screen right now, again, subscribe, Oddball Podcasts on YouTube. Be sure to hit that subscribe and like button so you can see what we're talking about for anybody that's under me and Vinny's age. When we see that jersey, first thing you say, oh, that's Melo 15. Like the colorway. It could be the away, that ugly alternative one that was
beautiful
blue.
Powder blue, that was a hot jersey.
Yeah, that was in the hood. It went platinum in the hood. So when you see that, you automatically think of Melo when you see that jersey. I mean, no disrespect to the great Ty Lawson. You ain't gonna think of Ty Lawson when you see that jersey. You're gonna think of Melo. So I understand why he would probably think of it in that way. And it's like, I was number 15. You know what I mean? He won the scoring title there, his only scoring title, even though he should have 3 more. So I was the guy. But like Vinny just said, we didn't get to the finals. We only got to the semifinals. Actually, we got to the conference finals when they played the Lakers in 2009. So, which was, some of the greatest basketball I ever seen between 2 offensive players ever. And that's when he had his best team in Denver with Chauncey Billups up to 1, J.R. Smith, etc. So I understand what he means, but let me take the route of the organization because it's a burial job. It's definitely a burial job. Give Jokic a different number. He obviously wouldn't care either. But now it helps if Jokic has the 15. You're going to think, oh, Melo had 15 as well. But the problem is now it's too far gone because, again, like Vinny just said, it's a championship.
He's got the championship.
Now. And then it's going in the rafters. He might even get a statue. More than likely, he might get a statue. But let me go back to with Melo. Melo, yeah, you was 15, but you also was 7. You going in the garden. You're going to get your jersey up in the garden. You can't have your jersey in both places. I think it would probably be best. Yeah, you started your career in Denver. That's what made me – I was a mark when he was at Oak Hill Academy. But I'm saying far as being known between this decade and last decade, it's more so because you play for the Knicks. And more so, to be honest, people know you more for the Knicks than they do the Nuggets.
I don't know. Maybe it's just an age thing. Yeah. Because I definitely feel like I know Melo more as a Denver Nugget. Like that's like prime Melo to me. And then maybe like that those first 2 years in New York.
Yeah, when he had the McNeil braids.
Right.
That's what we know him for.
Because I think the Melo years in New York City are very over-romanticized. Very. Because you've got those first 2 years, which had the season where they won over 50 games and got into the playoffs. But then, like, pretty much everything after that was almost like an afterthought. Like, they were constantly fighting to get either Melo more help or Melo was fighting with the organization, and then they brought in Phil Jackson soon after, and that whole mess. Like, so
his best coach is Mike Brown.
Right, so you really didn't get, like, a ton of you had great individual performances by Melo, but in terms of like full seasons where you can point to and be like, yeah, this is like part of Melo's prime. 2-3 years maybe, whereas Denver it was like, again, we're talking rookie of the year caliber season, and then just constant playoff berth. Like they never missed the playoffs when he was in Denver.
Yeah. You know what, too? Thinking about it, when he got with the Knicks, that's when NBA 2K was gradually going up. Live was kind of falling off, and people were just really enamored more so with 2K than even the real game. I mean, we just left our golden year. And it's probably because of nostalgia now, which is crazy to think, because this last decade we just left for me and your age demographic was our golden age. That was like our 80s and 90s. Even though we grew up in the 90s per se, we were jits, so we had memories, but not lived through it. So with 2K, because that Knicks team was more fun playing as the Knicks when Melo was on there. And I'm talking about when they got to the playoffs 2012, 2013. That team was more fun than the Nuggets team. Any Nuggets team that you played other than 07, 08 with Allen Iverson on the team, that team with the Knicks and 2K was more fun. So people probably go off of that as well. Or again, you're right.
That's a very interesting point, because I've made this about other sports as well, where, again, you look back at how big Madden became and the Tony Hawk games, and I'm not going to say there'd be less football fans without Madden, but certainly there's an entire generation of kids that grew up playing those games and getting deeper into the sport because of that. And same with the basketball games. The early to mid 2000s, I think we're finally looking back and reappraising it as a real golden era for console basketball games. Because remember, it wasn't just locked down to 2K. So you had all these different franchises, like you said, the Live franchise. EA Sports had their stuff. They also had the EA Sports big street games. You had the college basketball games. Yep. So you had all these different series coming out for basketball. And then by the time you get to the 2010s, it all kind of congeals together under the 2K banner.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So again, we got to remember, and I just had a conversation with somebody. We're the old guys, even though we're not old, but we're old enough to remember the players that just retired. Obviously, I don't know if that's on the docket, but D-Wade getting the statue makes me feel old because I remember watching him at Marquette. So to see Melo now doing a podcast, his son Kyan, I think that's how you enunciate his name, is doing well in Long Island. I think he's about to go to college. And I remember when he was a baby, to see that to now, to see somebody with the number 15 who is an American winning the title. And I mean, obviously, Melo's a once-in-a-lifetime player too. I'm going to say that because we're not going to see another 6'8", 6'9", 230 power forward that plays like a 2. All right, like scores like a 2. And again, Kobe don't give a lot of people props unless you're defending him and he just busted you up. He really loved Melo. That should tell you everything about his offensive capability, because he loved Melo. Like, it's documented that he loved Melo. He loved playing against him, and he put him over. He put nobody over but Melo. So Melo's a once-in-a-lifetime player. But then you got this dude right here who is really a once-in-a-lifetime player. And it's unfortunate that he has your number, and he might remember more than you as far as this organization. But Melo, I promise you, and I'm saying this not just as a fan, Melo being one of my favorite players ever, but it's fine that people remember you for the Knicks because it's one of the most popular teams in NBA history or in sports history. So
they're going to use the argument that, well, at a time when no other superstars wanted to come here, he wanted to come. Melo wanted to stay here. And I mean, that counts for a lot, I think.
Yeah, and that's fine because it's supposed to be the mecca of basketball. No disrespect to Knicks fans, but hey, growing up in LA, more people were outside of LA or Laker fans across the world more than Knicks fans. But if he get his jersey there, even though he was born in Brooklyn, raised in Maryland, that's pretty good too. You can't get jerseys retired in both places. It ain't gonna be like, LeBron might have a statue in Miami and he might have one in Ohio, but that's LeBron, so he's gonna have jerseys retired in 3 different places.
Yeah, well, speaking of LeBron, the great jumping off point there. This stat popped up the other day during a Laker game and surprised the hell out of me and apparently a lot of other people. Do you know that LeBron James has played against 35% of the entire NBA? When I say the entire NBA, anyone who's ever played, like the 4,000 whatever people who've played in the NBA throughout its entire history, he's played against 35% of them.
Brother, listen, we owe I gotta
There you go. Topic closed. We old. That's just
like that's not a bad thing. I love it because you get to see things then, now, and then you kind of have an idea of the future. But they showed the list of coaches he's played against that are now coaching. It's Willie Green, Chauncey Billups, Darvin Ham, that jabroni in Houston, Nia Long's husband, who is a good coach, but I know him as Nia Long's husband. The list goes on, and it's like that's insane. Like when I saw that, and then seeing this stat again, it's the reason why I know Jordan is the greatest of all time. But if you say LeBron is, I can't argue with you.
Well, I think what we're seeing now, because a couple of years ago, when he joined LA, a lot of people had this idea that, like, okay, if he wins one more in LA, it'll be great. Not going to change anyone's mind about where he is in the pecking order. And while that still may be true to a lot of people, I think the fact that his production on the court has remained as high as it's been is, if they've got him number 2, they're putting it up to like a 2+. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't, like, you can't ever get him above Jordan, but what he's doing is something that we've never seen before. The kind of production he's putting out on the Lakers is something we've never seen. Like averaging, what was it last year? Like 28 points, which is something that he did like his 3rd year in the league. Like he's averaging the same amount of points now at 38, 39 years old that he did when he was 20 years younger. That's also insane. That is an insane thing that I think we're all kind of taking for granted right now.
Also, too, when he retires, he'll have the 2nd or 3rd highest point per game career average, which would be that 27-7. It might be
his individual stats are off the wall. Like when he finally retires and we get to see it all like on a spreadsheet added up, like where he is. It's like first in this, first in this, first in that. It's going to be insane.
And again, he passed up Kareem. Dude, I didn't think anybody would pass that up. Like, me and Vinny watched the game. Like, I really watch basketball, right? I'm a basketball mark. Mm-hmm. So, to think somebody would pass up Kareem, listen, I don't think people understand this. So, anybody that's on YouTube, get closer. Anybody that's listening on Spotify, Apple, Deezer, wherever you can get your podcast at for Oddball Podcasts. Listen, hey, he passed up Kareem for all-time points. Think about that for a second. A 37-year-old man, 38-year-old man, which makes it even scarier, passed up Kareem for all-time points. A record that was like 40-plus years old. That's insane. And you'll never see it again. We'll never see this again.
Yeah.
A person like this, like we'll never see an athlete like this again. The only thing that came close was Tom Brady, and that's football.
Well, and if we do, it's going to have to be, 25, 30 years from now, because we haven't seen him come along yet. So, like, you would have to say that, okay, if that person came along tomorrow and started their journey, well, okay, we're going to have to wait 30 years to see if they can match up.
And also, too, Vinny, people don't say this. You know how much discipline it takes to be that great? That's what people, that's the biggest aspect is the hard work and the discipline. Like, if he just wanted to go all town, like, dude, in our lifetime of seeing this dude, I've known the LeBron people have been knowing him longer, but I've known the LeBron for 22 years now, almost 22 years since the Sports Illustrated. Mm-hmm. And they put Oak Hill versus his team, St. Vincent, St. Mary. Or I'm tripping, it's not St. Vincent, St. Mary. Is it St. Vincent, St. Mary?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I got the jersey. So to see them on ESPN, you like, okay, I see what everybody's talking about. Again, kids, this is before the internet. So it was just kind of word of mouth or just watching the games when you can.
That's the other thing too, is that nobody has had this much hype thrust upon them before entering the league and has not only hit expectations, exceeded them. Like,
Yeah.
most people would argue that LeBron is either number 2 or number 3 all time in the NBA. If that's not surpassing expectations, I don't know what is. And then again, like we said, you add up all the the records and the most points ever, and it becomes mind boggling because I think some people get caught up. They get caught up in the rings, and they just go, "Oh well, he's got 4. Oh, Steph Curry has 4 now too. So what does that say about LeBron?" And it's like it's a team sport. That's what it says. And the Golden
Also,
State Warriors had a more consistent team, and Steph Curry is still great, but I think most people who know basketball would not put Steph Curry in a million years above LeBron James. Steph Curry's a very special player. You could say he's one of the most influential players in NBA history because of the 3-point shot, but ahead of LeBron, I think that's insanity.
Also, I've been arguing with people for years, let alone the past year, which is weird. But people starting to realize what I'm saying, and I don't want to take credit for it, but it's right there. Hey, Google's your friend, bro, and you can watch full games on YouTube. Tim Duncan got 5 titles. They don't even think he top 10,
Yeah.
which is stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, if you want to go single, that's a whole different conversation we're gonna have eventually. We gotta have that conversation. It's 5 titles, 2 back-to-back MVPs, man. Yeah, I don't even want to talk about it right now. But yeah, people think Tim Duncan ain't even top 10.
Now, there is one person ahead of LeBron in the percentage has played, the most amount of people in NBA history. I'm going to give you one guess who it is.
I was going to say Derek Fisher, but I don't know why I was going to say that. He ain't even in the league.
No, it's Vince Carter, who has played against 37.8% of the league.
I mean, old man, that's the old man Vinny. You the young Vinny. That old man Vinny, yeah, man. UNC great because we produce nothing but greatness. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. Definitely Hall of Famer because again, anytime they say Penny Hardaway in the Hall of Famer, I'm like Reggie Miller in the Hall of Fame.
Well, again, we had this discussion last episode when Wilkins was on. It was, is Grant Hill in the Hall of Fame? Yeah. Okay. Well, we got to at least consider Penning.
Yeah, even
Bernard King in the Hall of Fame. Okay, well then Vince Carter gets in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and when y'all chose these players, I said, yeah, they should automatically be Hall of Famers, especially Grant Hill. ACL tear or not, he should be in the Hall of Fame because Grant Hill was LeBron before LeBron.
Now, you said you don't want to talk about LeBron anymore. That's great because we only got a little bit of time left. So we're gonna get to something fun. This is me getting out in front of something because we can't wait till March Madness because it's going to be too late for this to potentially happen. But let's rewind for a second because last year, Pizza Hut brought back a promotion that I didn't know they did this because there's no more Pizza Huts where I am. They brought back the March Madness mini basketballs. Now, right? Look at this. Look at this man.
Yeah, my fault for being on the phone, but I had to look at this. I was like, hold on.
Because if you're just listening, it's like, okay, this sounds silly. Okay, Vin, we're talking about mini basketballs. What's the big deal? But believe me, like if you were a kid, or even not a kid, if you were older back in the 90s, this was one of those promotions that a lot of people kind of don't talk about now, but was like really, really cool. Like really, like
you get your hands on one of these, boy.
Look at pan pizza. Like everyone always talks about how you go to Pizza Hut, and it was like a kid's dream. Now you go there, and it's like, man, you get a free basketball while I'm there too. Like, sign me up,
dude. I haven't had Pizza Hut in I don't know when, and I love it. Besides Papa John's.
Well, we're not going to talk about any other pizzeria. We're only talking about Pizza Hut because.
Well, let me put Pizza Hut over. Yeah, they got.
I don't know if they're doing this again this year. They busted it out last year. I didn't hear about it. I guess shame on me. But I'm not letting that happen again. I'm tagging Pizza Hut in this clip because if I can get if I can get my hands around these balls, pause. Banks is like, I'm getting out of here. I don't know where this is
Yeah, I was
going.
gonna pull the math. I'm out of here.
But if I can get my hands on these before March, I want in. You hear that, Pizza Hut? I want it. Bring back these, the originals.
Wow.
Look at that.
Was that
I don't care what
size
color
regulated ball?
No, that's still the mini one. It's the size of the cup. So, but bring back the cups. Bring back the Look at that. Man, this man just said, "Wow!" Like I dropped a gold brick in his lap. Like
I remember that cup.
Right? You're damn right. You remember that cup. But even if you want to have it, in the new school model, you want to do the old school, whichever way you want to slice it, Pizza Hut, to use a pizza pun. I want in. I want one of these balls. How can I get a hold of one? Can you send me? I will do a review of, I don't know how I'm going to do a review of a mini basketball on a podcast. I will do an unboxing. Whatever you want me to do, I will do it. If you want me to mukbang a pizza on air on this podcast, I will eat a pizza and do an unboxing of this March Madness ball.
Brother, you can't do. You're gonna get heartburn doing Pizza Hut. It's greasy. You try to do a mukbang to Pizza Hut.
Listen, Pizza Hut is a beautiful organization. Who
it is, but it's greasy.
They make a fine pizza pie. But yeah, I don't know if they're bringing it back this year. I'm hoping they bring it back because I want in.
They need to, because I kind of forget about Pizza Hut sometimes because Papa John's got an ad all the time. I haven't seen a Pizza Hut ad in God knows when. They should bring it back.
Bring it back. Keep it going. You've got the momentum now. You did it. You brought it back last year. Maybe it did slip a little under the radar. Certainly it did with me. Keep it going. Keep the hype train going.
You know what's wrong with Pizza Hut? And I love y'all. Y'all my favorite fast food pizza spot. Hey, man, y'all don't do coupons no more.
Do they not do? I know they used to do the thing where, you could bring your competitors' coupons.
Yeah, I don't see coupons like that.
I don't know. Like I said, there's no. The only Pizza Huts near me are inside a Target, where they have the little Pizza Hut Express. But that's about it. It's no. If I'm gonna go to Pizza Hut, I want the full Pizza Hut experience. I wanna have written a book report beforehand just so I can get an A from my teacher, and go to Pizza Hut and get some free pizza.
Yo, what happens to remember the red cups?
People online found out where you can get the red cups.
Really weird.
I don't know offhand. It's someone makes them. I don't know what name of the company is that makes the red cups, but they're out there. Someone found. This is great. Someone found the factory in, I don't know if it was Hong Kong or Taiwan, that makes the lamps, the ones that hang over the red lamps.
Yeah.
Someone found the manufacturer that makes those, and they were like, "Yeah, you can just contact them and they'll ship you one."
Okay, we might have to do that. You might need to put that in the backdrop of this recording.
Yeah, Pizza Hut. Just send me a lamp, send me a basketball. Let's get this going.
See, you all of it. Hey, the Ninja Turtles arcade that used to be at the one I used to go to when I was legit. The Punisher one, the real Punisher one, not the one. Yeah,
send me the X-Men cups that you used to do.
Yeah. The X-Men arcade. Man, nostalgia, bro. Yeah, hey, we need all that. The box, the old school box where you see the grease popping out at the bottom. We need that.
Give it all to us, Pizza Hut. But on that note, make sure to, like we said at the top, make sure to subscribe on YouTube if you're not already. youtube.com/@Oddball Podcast. If you're only watching and you want to listen on the go, you can do that wherever you get your podcast from. Apple, Spotify, Google Play, Deezer, whatever that website is. I don't know. You know where to get podcasts from. So go do that there. And Banks, where can people find you?
Well, first of all, man, thank you for always having me on. You will be on BVD next week. As of this recording, he'll be on definitely this week. So me and Vinny got to record because I love him. And I got to do the job for my brother because he always puts me over. Otherwise than that, if you listen to this again, Oddball Podcast on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. This is the best way to see everything that Vinny talks about every week. Otherwise than that, you can find me at The Man Called Banks on IG, The Man Called Banks on IG altogether, Banks versus Davis on YouTube, Random Acts of Podcast, Patreon, Black Announce Table, Patreon. That'll be it. I got my own show coming out soon, but we'll talk about that in the future.
There we go. We'll check all those things out. And like I said at the top, subscribe, do all that. Go follow the show over on Twitter at Oddball Podcast. Follow me on Twitter at Mighty Vin. Follow me over this Banks. That's another reason why you got to subscribe. Banks showing off the gun show right now. While I'm giving medias. Over on Instagram. It took me long enough. His new Instagram at oddball_pod. Or if you want to follow the personal account at Vin Forte NYC. And with all that said and out of the way, this has been Oddball Vin Forte. You've been listening to me, Vin Forte, and Banks. Banks will not be here next week, but I will. So goodbye.